Welcome to the Autoimmune Babe podcast. This episode is going to be a treat. At least I hope so, because we're going to be doing something different today that I hope you find really, really valuable and that we do more episodes like this in the future. So if you're watching video right now, you know that I'm a little bit more lax. I don't have any makeup on. We're going to be unfiltered and I'm going to be answering real questions from women like you. To be honest, I find that a lot of these questions are similar. And so I thought, well, I could just answer these questions over and over and over again, or I could answer them here on the podcast. And my hope is that these answers are inherently valuable and they provide guidance, peace of mind, clarity. And so please know that if you do enjoy this episode, please let me know via email, TikTok, Instagram. I would love to know your thoughts because if this is indeed helpful for you, I would love to do this more often. Now, if you are new here, hello, my name is Gianna. I am the founder of Autoimmune Babe Wellness, a board certified clinical nutritionist, and a Scleroderma warrior 9 years in unmedicated remission. And for the past 8 years, I have been on a mission to help women like you take back what chronic illness has stolen from you to help you heal naturally alongside needed medication. We release episodes like this every Tuesday, so feel free to subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you have an autoimmune babe in your life, make sure you share one of these episodes with them because truly one of the most powerful things that we can do for the people that we love is to share hope with them. And you never know how profound and how life-changing spreading hope can be. Now, what we're going to do is we're literally going to open up my phone here. You're going to see my TikTok open and we're going to go right into my unread DMs. You're going to see the question come up over here. So you know kind of the question that this person is asking. We're going to keep their identity anonymous and we're going to dive right in. Hi, may I ask, was your skin hard where you had the lesions from your stomach to your thighs? If yes, is it gone now? So this question is talking about Morphea scleroderma. And so yes, the answer is yes. With Morphea scleroderma, the lesions that are on your body are actually scar tissue, which is one of the reasons why most people will say like scar tissue can't heal and why a lot of people are stunned when they see my skin. And my rheumatologist literally was like, this is a medical miracle. What you're experiencing should not be possible. The short answer is yes, those lesions on my body, those hyperpigmented lesions were hard. They were leathery. They had a different texture when you put your finger over them. And they are now softer, less contrasted. I would say they are 90% gone. Now that I'm postpartum, obviously my skin is a little bit different than before, but I'll show you a picture here, kind of what it looks like in 2022 before I had my baby. I do need an updated photo and I'm happy to share that with you once we, get to that point where I feel comfortable sharing my body on the internet again. But with that being said, yes, things have improved dramatically. That is one of the things about my experience with scleroderma is not only am I in unmedicated remission and I've stayed here for 9 years, the recovery and the healing that I have experienced is a level that my rheumatologist could not explain on a medical level. If you want more information about this, if you have follow-up questions about Morphea scleroderma lesions in particular, feel free to put them in the comments below or message me on Instagram or TikTok. So we're going to move right along. It says, hi, Gianna, thank you so much for sharing your story. I too have been diagnosed with SCL70 systemic scleroderma. So far, my organs are okay. Praise God. Love that. And my rheumatologist has put me on immunosuppressant drugs that he says is necessary because it's important to be very aggressive in the first 5 years. Absolutely. I was wondering if you'd be willing to share more with me about your experience, where you are, and are you on immunosuppressant drugs or were you able to go into remission through the AIP diet? I appreciate anything you'd be willing to share. Thank you. I'm going to share it all with you right now. So if you're confused, you're like, wait, separate linear morphia scleroderma, systemic scleroderma. These are two different types of scleroderma, and they actually fall into two separate categories. Morphia scleroderma is more localized. It is local to the dermis, where systemic scleroderma will impact the entire body. Connective tissue is all over the body, right? So that scarring could happen anywhere. So when I was diagnosed, originally I was SCL70 positive. This is the antibody that is used to identify systemic scleroderma. And so for years, rheumatologists didn't know if my localized scleroderma would advance to systemic scleroderma. Now, there was talks at the worst of my experience where I was generalized scleroderma. I was definitely experiencing more symptoms like, joint pain, finger swelling, muscular atrophy. My lesions started like coming together. So I would have like a lesion on like one side of my leg, on the other side of my leg, and they started like growing together to like one large lesion. I share the fact that I was diagnosed with systemic scleroderma because I was, but my symptoms really stayed within that localized scleroderma category. Now, with that being said, I was on immunosuppressants pretty consistently for 12 years. So the medications that I took first was Plaquenil. So Plaquenil hydrochloroquine was the medication that I took the longest by far. So it was the first medication I was put on, and it was the last medication I was weaned off by my rheumatologist. Prednisone, I was on and off again for those 12 years. This medication was really given to me when I was in a flare-up. Right? So like when I would be experiencing a flare-up, I would be put on prednisone for 6 to 8 weeks to manage that flare-up. And then I also took methotrexate. So methotrexate, if you are not familiar, this is a low-dose chemo medication. And I took methotrexate both orally and intravenously with injection. Again, depending on where I was on my scleroderma journey, but I was on and off all three of those medications for those 12 years until 2015, where I was weaned off one at a time. And I have been medication free since 2015. When I say, hey, I've been in unmedicated remission for 9 years, that number actually starts when I'm off all medications, not even when my scleroderma was considered to be inactive, which is like such good news. And please know that if I can be sick for 12 years and be in this state, better, healthier days are in front of you as well. And so I hope that this is helpful. Now, with that being said, there's one more part of this question that I have to emphasize, which is, were you able to go into remission through the AIP diet? I actually don't really recommend the AIP diet. I know that some people find it helpful, and they find it helpful when it comes to food triggers. I have yet met somebody who has done the AIP diet and it's led to remission and they have stayed there. Now, if you are somebody, if this is you, please let me know. I would love to hear your story. But when it comes to the science around AIP diet, it's a little bit precarious, and I did not find the AIP diet doable or sustainable for me. Keep in mind that if you're familiar with my story, when I started a healing journey, I had a horrible relationship with my body and food. And so I had to start my healing journey differently to set my body up for success, both emotionally and physically, right? The impact of autoimmune disease is both emotional and physical. And so the healing journey encompasses both as well. And you setting your body and your mind up for success is a non-negotiable if you are looking to increase your odds of remission, reaching remission, and then staying there for good. Because I will tell you this, as somebody who is in remission, once you get there, once you experience remission, it is now, I want to stay here. And you're still on a healing journey. You still continue that path. Now it just looks a little bit different because you've reached remission, but you don't reach this pinnacle of healing and then just be like, perfect, I'm cured. Hear me when I say that even my doctors now will say, Gianna, you are the pinnacle of health, and there is no cure for scleroderma. And so both can coexist at the same time, and you can live a vibrant, healthy life, even though there is no cure for autoimmune disease. Now, I hope that this answers your question, but the next question and the final question that we are going to answer today is the most popular question I get by far. Countless times I received this question on comments, in DMs, asking for help, asking for advice. And so the question is this: what diet did I follow to go into remission? To be completely transparent, I have avoided this question for a really long time, not because I didn't want to answer it, but because I felt like the answer was going to be like confusing or disappointing. And so in preparation for this episode, I have really kind of reflected, and I'm going to do my best in explaining this in a way that makes tangible sense, in a way that gives you hope. And my prayer is that it kind of gives you freedom of really understanding the power of food being medicine. Okay. At the very beginning of my healing journey, like I mentioned a few moments ago, I was in a horrible place when it came to my body and food. In the early 2000s, right, there were an abundance of diets to try. The ones that I tried, at least, every single one of them led me to a dead end. And so the only thing that I got from those diets, trigger warning, was an eating disorder. And so when I started this healing journey in 2013, I'm sorry. I knew I had to do it differently. So at this point in time, the AIP protocol was thriving. Paleo was thriving. So just paleo itself. And then plant-based and veganism was like on the rise. So everyone was really like anti-meat. And I made a decision to do things differently. I chose what was going to actually work for me. And so I want to give you permission to do that for you. And so the way that I did this was I started adding in foods first. So I would go to Trader Joe's and I would pick 2 to 3 produce items to add to my meals for the week. So it was Brussels sprouts, or, tricolor carrots, or potatoes, or celery, or cucumbers. I would pick 2 to 3. And then I would add that into my meals throughout the week. And this was a really doable thing for me. And I was able to practice it every single week. It also reduced food waste, which for me was like a big deal. I absolutely hate throwing away food. Side note. So once I started doing this more consistently, I started kind of hitting a roadblock. And that roadblock was GI issues. It was rocking me. I was eating the healthiest that I have ever been, but I was in crippling pain when it came to bloating, constipation, stomach pain. It was horrific. I was getting up in the middle of the night, driving to Walgreens, trying to find anything to relieve the pain. And so I knew that I needed additional help. And so at that point, I started working with a functional medicine doctor. Now, up until this point, I was working with an herbalist. So in addition to adding in food, I skipped this part, I was also adding in superfoods and herbs. So herbal teas, superfoods like chlorella, spirulina, diatomaceous earth, primrose oil. And then I started having some severe IBS issues. And that's what I needed. I knew I needed to start seeing a functional medicine doctor. And that's what led me to Dr. Hunton. Now, side note, Dr. Hunton will be coming on the podcast eventually. She just gave me the green light, so stay tuned for that episode. I don't know when it's coming out, but I will let you know when she is officially on the podcast, which I'm so excited for you to experience her and her intelligence and her brilliance. She is a phenomenal person, friend, and medical provider. So she was the one who really introduced me to the concept of digestion and the gut microbiome, and why digestion plays such an important role in healing the gut. And so this really started this new chapter of a series of diets that were a resource for a season, and then I would move to the next. And so this is really where, when someone asks me, like, what diet did you do? This is why it's so complicated, because there were a series of diets that I did that had an introduction date and an expiration date based on where I was on my healing journey. And so the first stage of this was adding in nourishment, right? The second stage of it was supporting my digestion and healing my gut health. And in this stage, there were a few different elimination diets. And that really helped me understand the fact that I couldn't have gluten and dairy, and that shellfish, especially like clams and shrimp, were not my friend at all whatsoever. So a common thing that I see is that like, oh, should I do the AIP diet? Or, oh, should I do the carnivore diet? Or, oh, should I do X, Y, and Z diet that focuses on elimination, right? It only will get you so far. There will be a point that you need to discontinue that diet and evolve into something else. And so for me, what I evolved into after my elimination diet era was plant-based. And so I was vegan for 3 years and I loved it. I attribute going plant-based to a huge part of me going into remission. And I did go into remission while I was plant-based. I went into remission in 2015, and then 2017 was ultimately when I started introducing meat into my diet. And again, we shifted. Plant-based had its expiration date, and I knew that I needed to reintroduce meat back in. For me, that had a lot to do with my neurodivergence and my ADHD. I started with fish and chicken, and now I eat red meat. And so this is one of the reasons why I say like an anti-inflammatory diet is not based on the foods that you eliminate. It's based on the foods that you eat. And you need to make sure that you are making these transitions when your body needs it. And so this is actually what I help people do. So many people I know do keto and then they get stuck doing keto for years. And that's like not what these diets are intended to do. You shouldn't have to marry a diet for it to work. It should do what it's supposed to do. It should stabilize you, it should nourish you, and then you can move on to expand the diversity of your diet. And so this ultimately is where I live today. And so if you could describe what my diet is, it's a diverse anti-inflammatory diet, one that is focused on the foods that I eat, not the foods that I eliminate. And so when I share the diet that I eat now, oftentimes I get like question marks being like, okay, well, like, what is that? And it's like, well, yeah, of course, this is not landing because this has really been an evolution of a series of diets, ones that, again, served their purpose and then had expiration dates. So I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that this gives you permission to try new diets and try new things. And if I could just express to you one really important thing that I think can maybe change your mind about the power of food as medicine, there are two things. One, again, anti-inflammatory diets are not based on the foods that you eliminate. They are based on the foods that you eat on a regular basis. And so you can be gluten and dairy free and still not have your food and meals be anti-inflammatory. So please know this and understand this. And two, there was a study done back in 2018 that essentially sought out common denominators for people who have robust, resilient, and healthy gut microbiomes. They, I think, went to the United States and the UK, and there was thousands of people in this study, and they found a common thread, one common denominator between all of these people, all different ethnicities, and the common denominator for the healthiest gut microbiome was this. They ate 30 plus fruits and vegetables a week. 30 different fruits and vegetables a week, which means an anti-inflammatory diet is a diet of diversity. If you want to increase your odds of remission, we want to increase the diversity of healthy, inflammation-fighting gut bacteria within your microbiome. The way that we can do this is when you eat a diversity of fiber. Where do you get fiber? Fruits and vegetables. So please know that there is a way that you can get to this level of anti-inflammatory eating, right? And the way that you do this is a series of elimination and adding nourishing foods in. So it's both. You eliminate and you add. You eliminate and you add. And you do this with collecting data about what foods serve you and what foods don't. And so if you have any questions about what this could look like for you, I do have something brand new that I think that would be so helpful. It's called the food log audit. And so what this is designed to do is it's designed to really allow you to gather information about what you're eating throughout the day. You send it to me, and then you have expert eyes on your meals. And I will send you a video breaking down everything that you're eating in a way that is encouraging. And I will give you tangible next steps based on your symptoms and your goals on what you should do next. And so this will ultimately help you start building the skill of understanding, hey, is this diet serving me, or is it time to transition into something new? If you feel like this is something that would be helpful for you, go into the show notes below and join the food log waitlist. And you're going to be getting some next steps this Thursday on when everything goes live and how you can reserve your spot now. I hope that this Q&A style episode was so helpful for you. I hope that it got you maybe thinking of some questions yourself that you want answered. If so, please feel free to email me. If you are listening to audio, please know that this email is in the show notes for you, and share the questions that you have, whether you are thinking about starting a healing journey or if you're currently on one right now. I would love to hear your questions, and I will do my best to answer all of them on podcast episodes like this. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Subscribe to this podcast so that you can stay in the loop when episodes go live on Tuesdays, and I will see you next week. Until next time, bye.